Broadcasting live from California, get ready for an hour of pure, unapologetic conservative talk radio. Liberals beware, because this is the Wise Conservative Show.
Good afternoon, and welcome to episode 80 of the Wise Conservative Show. Welcome back, and, well, Obamacare is still in the front of all the headlines. Of course, for a very good reason. Just yesterday, they voted in the Senate to open up debate on their bill, and they've already voted on 2 amendments to the debate. Of course, one that Senator Ted Cruz proposed yesterday, which failed, and today another amendment, which was just a straight repeal. That's what this one was for, proposed by Senator Rand Paul, and once again, it failed. In the next couple days, they're going to be voting on one more amendment. This one's going to be called a skinny repeal. What it basically is it's going to be a repeal where it's not a full repeal, but it does get rid of a couple of the mandates and handouts. But it's not the full Obamacare repeal. But let's get back to the vote that happened today on this straight repeal. Now, this was definitely a very conservative plan. It would have repealed the bulk of Obamacare, and it would have given lawmakers a 2-year window to replace the struggling health law. And it failed today in a vote 55 to 45. 7 Republicans, 7 of them, opposed this highly conservative and essentially what they promised to us on the campaign trail amendment. Of course, the chamber's 46 Democrats voted against it, and then 2 independent senators voted against it as well. This so-called straight repeal amendment, as I said before, was offered by Kentucky's Senator Rand Paul. It would have given senators 2 years to come up with a replacement. The measure failed on the heels of that other sweeping Obamacare overhaul amendment, and this one was stalled overnight. The votes highlight the difficulty that we're seeing in trying to hammer out an actual replacement plan. And even after advancing a core bill to debate in a dramatic vote yesterday, if you guys didn't watch that vote on anything, it was streamed on just about every news media source, I think. But I watched it, and it was actually a pretty dramatic vote. It had to be broken. It was a tie, 50-50, and Mike Pence was there, and he broke the tie. So, of course, it was actually Mike Pence's 5th time since he took office breaking a tie in the Senate. That's definitely a rate that's higher than most vice presidents have to go through. But sticking on track here, we see that we've been working for a long time to get this Obamacare repealed. We've been working since it was put into place, campaigning to get it repealed, campaigning on the fact that if we elect these people, they're going to repeal Obamacare. They're going to repeal the disaster of Obamacare. And now, after we gave them everything, they've been working for several months now, and we still haven't gotten anything. Of course, the first plan wasn't even able to get to a vote because they weren't able to put a full repeal in place. On Tuesday, it took a better turn because we finally got an actual debate on the bill in the Senate. And, well, now we have amendments. Let's vote for one of those. How about we finally stick to our word and vote for a repeal? You know, you would think that these Republican senators that we elected, these Republican senators that only are in office because they campaigned on the fact that they were going to repeal Obamacare, you would think they would finally do that. But instead, they vote against it. 2 days in a row, they're voting against it. Today, Republican Senators Susan Collins of Maine, Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia, John McCain of Arizona, Rob Portman of Ohio, Lamar Alexander of Tennessee, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and Dean Heller of Nevada voted against a full repeal of Obamacare. For some reason, they didn't think that repealing Obamacare was a good idea. for some reason, they think that sticking to their word wasn't a good idea. I can guarantee that each and every one of these GOP senators campaigned on the fact that they were going to repeal Obamacare. Every single GOP senator that is in office right now has campaigned on that. But they vote no. They're voting with Democrats, voting with these independents, voting against their word. This is the last chance that we have, basically, for Obamacare to be repealed. We've been trying for months. If they don't get it done this time, there's no way they can stick on this topic. They're going to have to move on to tax reform. Yet we still have these rhinos, these people who aren't real Republicans, aren't real conservatives, thinking that Obamacare isn't bad. Thinking that they're going to vote with liberals on this issue. It's not like they're trying to be bipartisan here, because I understand bipartisanship. But this isn't bipartisanship. This is them blatantly disregarding their promises. They promised a repeal of Obamacare. That's exactly what was on the table today. It's the only thing that was on the table today, a full repeal. And they couldn't get that done. We have some sort of division in the middle of our party where there's people who are keeping their promises, the majority of the senators, and then the people who don't think that their promises are good, who just blatantly lied to the American people. And now we don't even know if we're going to be able to even pass the skinny repeal that is going to be happening. And while this is a terrible option compared to the full repeal, it's better than nothing. Because the skinny repeal at least gets rid of some of the mandates. It gets rid of the individual and employer mandate and the taxes on medical device makers. So this would be much better than nothing, but it is still a terrible thing compared to what we could have done today, compared to a full repeal. I don't understand why these GOP senators can't stick to their word. And I know I've talked about Obamacare for a long time, for a lot of episodes on this show. Probably a lot of episodes in a row. But that's because it is a huge issue, folks. The majority of Americans are suffering because of Obamacare. The majority of Americans had to pay more because of Obamacare. Yeah, some people in the lower classes were able to get insurance they couldn't have it before. That is true. But the majority of Americans were hurt by it. The majority of Americans had to pay more so that they could give it to those other people. Obamacare was a huge disaster. And there's a reason why all of these different senators and representatives and even President Trump were put into office. Because this mess that Democrats put into place needs to be taken away. It needs to be repealed. And so we have these 7 senators that voted against the measure today. And they're completely disregarding that. They're completely disregarding their promises. And I don't understand why. Because there's no reason why we can't just repeal Obamacare and then work on a plan and implement it within that 2-year time slot. This was the best option, in my opinion. And it was the option that should have passed, and it would have passed if these people had stuck to their promises. And Donald Trump definitely feels the same way. If you actually follow him on Twitter or you're watching the news at all, you probably saw that President Trump slammed Senator Lisa Murkowski, who did vote no on today's measure and on the measure yesterday, and even voted no to allow debate on the bill. Well, today, he tweeted out, after his Ohio rally, he tweeted out, "The crowd in Ohio was amazing last night. Broke all records. We all had a great time in a great state. We'll be back soon." Then he continued, "Senator Lisa Murkowski of the great state of Alaska really let the Republicans and our country down yesterday. Too bad." Now, as I just said, Murkowski voted no on the measure to even move forward to debate. Murkowski was along with Senator Susan Collins. These people said no to even having a debate on the bill. And they claim to be conservative. They claim to be Republicans. But they won't even allow a debate on the Obamacare repeal bill. Because they think that a debate isn't good enough. For some reason, in their minds, they got the idea that voting no on that was a good plan. They're definitely going to have trouble in re-election, I can tell you that. Because these people blatantly disregarded their promises. They're going to have a horrible time in trying to get re-elected, trying to campaign to those people that they lied to. And they were caught in the lie by doing this. There's no way that they can ever be back in the Senate. But moving on, because I have definitely talked about Obamacare a lot recently. So let's move on to something that's actually I haven't talked about or talked of ever. Scaramucci, the new communications director, he suggested today that his efforts to stop damaging leaks will go beyond the West Wing and into federal agencies. And he made it clear that he won't play the Washington backstabbing game, as he's putting it. And actually, to the contrary, he said, quote, "I'm more of a front-stabbing person." Scaramucci, a New Yorker, said what he doesn't like about Washington is, quote, "People do not let you know how they feel. They're very nice to your face, and then they take a shiv or a machete and they stab it in your back." He said that would change on his watch. "I have the stomach and the backbone to fire you," he said. Scaramucci, who on Friday became the communications director, that's the same day that Sean Spicer resigned as well. He also said holdovers from the Obama administration are responsible for some of the leaked information that has slowed President Trump's agenda. He said he's going to be working with the federal agencies and departments within the administration, departure from earlier comments. Quote, "I'm not going to be able to stop the leaks in the intergovernmental agencies and all that other stuff. I'm just focused on the communications team." Scaramucci also confirmed a Fox News report that Attorney General Jeff Sessions is preparing an investigation into intelligence leaks, saying Sessions will announce the plan as early, obviously he didn't announce it today, so probably next week. He has also acknowledged again that stopping all the leaks is impossible and suggested his focus will be West Wing employees leaking information on each other. Quote, "The president himself deserves better than that." And then he declined to directly discuss Trump's dissatisfaction with Sessions, which that's been a little crazy, folks, if you've been paying attention to that. But Scaramucci came in, and it's completely different from anything that was going on. He's out in the spotlight. He's actually talking to people, and he's actually getting to work on trying to stop these leaks. And it's a good thing, because we see these leaks coming out constantly. We see these leaks coming out of the White House almost weekly. And these are people who were in the White House under the previous administration. These are people who are in these agencies in the previous administration and do not personally agree with Donald Trump. That's where these are coming from. These Obama supporters, these Hillary Clinton supporters. That's where these leaks are coming from, and that's who's actually doing it. And it's hurting the Trump administration because they're not able to actually get everything done when they're having to worry about these leaks. They really have to worry about whether this is going to be leaked to the press, whether this false story is going to be given to as a false story given to CNN or MSNBC as an unidentified source. In the media, you used to have a credible source for your information. But within this Trump administration, all of these unidentified sources, which generally are Obama supporters, still within the government, all these unidentified sources have increased, and now they're actually using them as front page headlines. They don't need to make sure that it's true. They're just going to publish it. They're just going to publish it and hope that it's true. Hope that no one catches on. And that's what's been going on within the media with all of these leaks. They're not making sure any of it's true. They're not making sure that it's not from an unreliable source. They're just going to publish it and hope it brings down President Trump. Hope that it stalls whatever he's doing. And so far it's worked because President Trump, while he has this huge agenda that he has to achieve, from immigration to tax reform to healthcare, he's being delayed and delayed because of the media and their focus on this Russia probe. They're focused on something that they themselves have admitted is fake. And then these fake leaks come out from the White House and from other government agencies. And they say, oh yeah, Donald Trump and his campaign met with these people. And I personally heard them talking to the Russian government about giving them this. And all of these different stories come out of it, even though it's completely false. So actually working to try and reverse these leaks is an amazing thing that hopefully will actually happen, that hopefully he will crack down on. Because it's directly gone against President Trump actually being able to get things done. And it's kept him answering all of these different questions about something that doesn't exist. And time after time they have to say, that didn't happen. We didn't do that. They didn't contact us. Because of all of these false leaks coming out of these people. So hopefully this is actually cracked down on. Hopefully Scaramucci actually does his job here, and he actually does achieve what they're looking for him to do. All right, I'm going to take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. This is the Wise Conservative Show. Hi everybody, Connor Wise here with an exclusive clip from the Wise Conservative Show. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. And every time that these universities take up this new social change that they're trying to promote, every time they take that up, they are taking away from that education instead. Because now they're focusing on these social changes instead of learning like they should be.
Ever wanted to learn the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in less than 10 minutes? Are you looking for the truth about the so-called gender wage gap? Well, my friends, I'll let you in on a little secret. Prager University is a source that I use all the time when preparing for my show, the Jason Veely Program. Dennis Prager and his team have put together a remarkable organization that seeks to explain and spread Americanism through the power of the internet. Their short yet extremely informative videos reach more than 100 million people per year, and they want to reach you as well. Go on YouTube and type in Prager University, or go to prageru.com for all of their latest content. That's Prager, the letter U.com. prageru.com.
Have you ever wanted to stand up to your liberal professor? Have you ever wanted to help expand the conservative movement? Well, it sounds like you would be a perfect fit for Youth Revolt. Youth Revolt is a team of dedicated young conservatives fighting liberal indoctrination within our school system. If you're interested in being a part of this team by being a columnist or even hosting your own radio show, go ahead and click the Join Now tab at the top of youthrevolt.org. You'll be asked to answer a few questions, and a Youth Revolt team member will respond to you quickly. Be a part of something bigger than you. Be a part of Youth Revolt. Speak without fear.
My friends, I'm going to be blunt with you. There are a lot of frauds out there today. People who claim to be conservatives and yet, in one way or another, believe that more government is the solution to our problems. That's not what conservatism is about, and even more than that, that's not what our Constitution is about. I'm Jason Veely, a recent college grad who has the guts to say what needs to be said without pulling any punches. On my radio show, you can expect 100% pure conservatism every single weeknight at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Join me as we discuss history, liberty, and conservative philosophy in a style that is just as entertaining as it is educational. Who says we can't have fun tearing down the liberal establishment? Tune in to the Jason Veely program live every weeknight at 7 o'clock on youthrevolt.org. I'll see you out on the battlefield.
Love Trump's hate! Love Trump's hate! Love Trump's hate!
Love trumping hate involves a lot more assault and arson than I expected. The Wise Conservative Show, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on Youth Revolt.
Welcome back to the Wise Conservative Show. Once again, I am your host, Connor Wise. Now, I did talk about it in this last segment slightly. Trump and Sessions, there's been a little bit of a feud lately. Sessions hasn't really said anything about Donald Trump, but of course, Donald Trump has tweeted and said a lot of things about Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Sorry about that background noise there. But Trump and Sessions definitely have had this feud. The Republican candidates vying for Jeff Sessions' old Senate seat in Alabama are actually being affected from this. They have portrayed themselves as staunch allies of both the Attorney General and President Trump, and that's leading to some problems here. Just 3 weeks before the primary, of course, these repeated attacks by the president on Sessions are definitely complicating the race. In a conservative state where both Trump and Sessions remain enormously popular, candidates can't afford to alienate either man's supporters. Quote, "The wise move in Alabama is to stand with the one from your state. The senator was so very, very popular who walked away from a job that would have been for his life if he wanted it." This is in Sean Sullivan, who's a conservative radio host in Mobile. That's what he's advising these candidates to do. Sessions, if you don't know, was the first senator to endorse President Trump, then candidate Trump, and became one of his most loyal and high-profile surrogates during the presidential campaign. But their relationship has been frayed, with Trump expressing his irritation in recent days over Sessions' recusal from the Russia meddling investigation. This has put those vying to replace him in a very tough spot. Alabama Senator Luther Strange, who was temporarily appointed to the seat in April after Sessions joined the Trump administration, is not taking sides but is praising both Sessions and Trump. In a statement Tuesday, Strange took aim at the press. Quote, "Jeff and President Trump are trying to make America great again. And it's a privilege to work alongside both to accomplish the Trump agenda for the American people. And we need to stop letting the media distract us from that agenda." U.S. Representative Mo Brooks, who has been endorsed by conservative media hosts Laura Ingraham, Mark Levin, and Sean Hannity, made an unorthodox offer in a Wednesday press release in demonstrating his support for Sessions, that all Republican candidates agreed to withdraw from the race together to clear the way for the state party to nominate Sessions to run again for his old seat. Quote, "I recognize that President Trump is popular in Alabama. My closest friends and political advisors have told me not to side with Jeff Sessions, that it will cost me politically to do so. My response is simple. I don't care. If this costs me politically, that's fine. But I am going to get to the right thing for Alabama and America." Roy Moore, who was elected and forced out as Alabama's Supreme Court Chief Justice twice, but enjoys support from religious conservatives. He told Fox News at a barbecue restaurant in Gardendale on Monday, quote, "I don't think Jeff Sessions should resign at this time. But, that's my opinion." He added, "I have the greatest respect for Jeff Sessions. He's an honorable man." Sullivan, the radio host, noted there's a middle ground for candidates. Quote, to back Attorney General Sessions, you don't have to necessarily go full-throated against President Trump, but you should be full-throated in your support of Jeff Sessions. And this is advice that most contenders seem to be taking. Another candidate, State Senator Tripp Pittman, on Wednesday defended Sessions during a radio interview on Mobile's FM Talk 106.5. The Republican said Sessions was right to recuse himself, saying he supports the Attorney General 100%. Quote, let's be frank, Donald Trump would not be president, I don't believe, without Jeff Sessions. And when Jeff Sessions stood up, he gave Donald Trump the conservative credentials he needed to widen his base to a point where he could win the presidency. He continued, I think the president needs to focus on his policies, maybe tweet a little less. The Republican primary here in Alabama is set for August 15th. A runoff will be held September 26th if no candidate gets more than 50% of the vote, which seems very likely in the crowded field, though polling has actually been scarce in this entire race. So this feud that has gone on really is affecting this race in Alabama. It's not necessarily making it so that a conservative won't be in the Senate seat. We already know that a conservative is going to win this seat. It's Alabama. It's a highly conservative state. But what it is doing is it's complicating things for who is going to be in that seat. Of course, Donald Trump just out of nowhere started criticizing Jeff Sessions for this. He started criticizing Jeff Sessions for his recusal in the Russia probe, for all of these different things, and for not already having indicted people in different leaks and not indicting Hillary Clinton, all of these different things. And he just out of nowhere started doing this. Now, you guys know on this show, I both criticize and praise our Republican senators, representatives, and even our president and vice president. And this is a point where President Trump needs to stop. He needs to stop blatantly and ridiculously, quite honestly, attacking Jeff Sessions for this. The Russia probe was basically out of the news media for a little bit because of Obamacare. It was completely out of the news cycle for the most part until Donald Trump started tweeting about Jeff Sessions' recusal of it. He brought it back to the forefront of the news cycle. He completely brought this back and reminded people that this investigation was going on, that there was still a special counsel that was looking into this. Even though it was starting to fade away from some of the news channels. There was no reason why President Trump should have tweeted these things out. Does it make it more difficult that Jeff Sessions recused himself from this investigation? Yes. Was it the right thing to do? Well, that's debatable. Of course, it made it so that people didn't question whether justice was being obstructed or not. But of course, it did make it so that it's a harder time for different things to go on. But President Trump, no matter whether this was the right idea or not, cannot be criticizing Jeff Sessions on this. Jeff Sessions has supported him since the very beginning. He was the first senator to support him. He campaigned more than almost anyone else to help Donald Trump win. And Jeff Sessions, quite honestly, is one of the most highly respected people in politics. To be attacking him like this is not helping President Trump whatsoever. Is not helping his reputation, is not helping the view that people have of him as president, and is not helping the view that people have of him in the Russia probe. Now we're seeing people saying that he's trying to obstruct justice because he wants to put someone back into the investigation, because he wants the special counsel out of there. There were so many better ways to do this. But he went about a way that made it so that he was the bad guy. Now I know all publicity is good publicity. But in this case, it's not. In this case, this is not helping President Trump whatsoever. He should have let this topic slide into the background. Because this Russia probe, while it's based on completely false facts, it's still hurting President Trump. And so he needs to let it slide away. But speaking of this probe, were basically saying that there's more depth to it now than there used to be. Republicans in Congress have joined the White House in asking questions about the extent to which a Democratic Party consultant may have worked with Ukrainian officials to hurt then-candidate Donald Trump's presidential bid last year. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley wrote a letter earlier this week to the Justice Department asking whether the Democratic National Committee broke the law. Grassley, who's a Republican from Iowa, specifically asked if the DOJ was investigating Alexander Chalupa, a Ukrainian-American DNC consultant, who allegedly had meetings with a Ukrainian embassy in Washington, D.C. to discuss incriminating information about Trump campaign officials. President Trump, trying furiously to tamp down the controversy over this Russian coordination with associates, has questioned why the same scrutiny is not being applied to the Democrats' alleged Ukraine connection. In a Tuesday tweet, he complained about the lack of an investigation into Ukraine's efforts to sabotage his campaign. Quote, Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump campaign, quietly working to boost Clinton. So where is the investigation, Attorney General? Prying into such claims, Grassley letters to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein flagged the deficient enforcement of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA, and asked why the Justice Department did not require Chalupa to register. Now, FARA requires individuals to register with the Justice Department if they act, even through an intermediary, as an agent, representative, employee, or servant, or in any other capacity, at the behest of a foreign actor to engage with a U.S. official. Grassley requested a response from Rosenstein by August 3rd. The Justice Department declined to comment on this matter, and Grassley said it was imperative that the Justice Department explain why Chalupa had not been required to register. But Chalupa's attorney, Conrad Nowak of Henshaw Culbertson, told Fox News that the law was inapplicable to Chalupa's actions. Quote, when discussing the actions of Alexander Chalupa, the spirit and letter of FARA could not be more inapplicable. In contrast, Mr. Manafort, we must remember, was in fact directly working for a foreign entity for enormous sums of money. And that's, of course, referring to Paul Manafort. Continuing, Chalupa was nothing more than an individual involved in ethnic relations, not unlike countless other ethnic and heritage communities throughout the United States. Chalupa, who has since left the DNC, worked as a part-time consultant, primarily in ethnic American outreach. Her attorney blamed the attack over her activities and the attempt to force them into FARAs as nothing more than a continued anti-immigrant, anti-ethnic rhetoric. DNC spokeswoman said that the White House has been pushing this narrative to distract. Quote, no one is buying it. The Trump campaign embraced an offer from a hostile foreign government to interfere in our elections. Trump and some of his family watched for months as the Kremlin attacked our democracy and did nothing but encourage and celebrate their efforts. He added there, the FBI is investigating whether the Trump campaign was involved in these efforts. So this is definitely a huge news side to the investigation. But what we're seeing here is an investigation continue on for months and months and months. And people are saying that it's definitely true that this happened. People are saying it's definitely true that the Trump campaign worked with Russia, worked with the Kremlin, just as you heard right there with the DNC spokeswoman, that, quote, the Trump campaign embraced an offer from a hostile foreign government to interfere in our elections, and then said that they watched for months as, quote, the Kremlin attacked our democracy, and then that they did nothing but, quote, encourage and celebrate their efforts. This is what the DNC is saying. This is what people across America and the media are saying. This is what liberals are saying across the nation. They're saying that this is a fact, that the Trump campaign definitely did this. This probe has been going on for a lot of years now. Or not a lot of years, a lot of months now. This probe has been going on since Trump was elected, since the election even happened in November. let's look at what actually has come up from this. What actual facts have been presented. Let's look at this list of nothing. There are no facts of Donald Trump colluding with Russia. The only thing was this dossier that came out from a very sketchy source, from a source that really doesn't prove anything, which I'll actually get to in a little bit. That came out against a firm, Fusion GPS. That's the firm that brought out this weird, sketchy dossier. And there's people who are trying to actually testify against that firm, saying that they definitely blatantly lied. But that's in the next article and segment that I'm going to get to. But what we see here is that definitely this probe is not required anymore. This probe has gone on long enough, but it is kind of just dragging out. It's hurting Donald Trump's reputation. It's hurting Republicans' reputations for no reason at all. And it was a very good point of Republicans to bring up the fact of, yeah, this person basically did the same exact thing that they're accusing Eric Trump of actually doing. They're accusing the Trumps of reaching out to these people, looking for incriminating evidence, and meeting with foreign ambassadors. That's what they're doing to the Trump campaign. So why don't we do it to them? Why don't we point out the times that they did it? Because it happened on both sides of the aisle. This isn't anything new. Reaching out to someone trying to get incriminating evidence is not new within politics. In fact, it's quite normal within politics. But we see these people going out of their way to try and make it seem like treason happened when there is no evidence for it. And you see these people saying that it definitely happened, that it is a matter of fact that this happened. And that's what comes out of all this false narrative that has been spewed. If you remember a few weeks ago, the CNN, one of their producers, said that this story was completely fake, but they're going to continue doing it. And all of these different things have come out. This probe is completely based on false assumptions. Yet it continues to be wrung out, continues to be in the spotlight. And yes, President Trump is not helping with that. He continues to bring it back into the spotlight with tweets. But it shouldn't be in the spotlight anymore, folks. This has gone on quite long enough. Sadly, it's not out of the spotlight yet, and sadly, it's still going on. Because we all know, all of us who have actually looked at facts here, we all know that the Trump campaign did not collude with Russia. But, you know, some people don't look at facts in this nation, and so they're going to continue to do this defamatory story on President Trump. I'm going to have one last quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. This is a Wise Conservative Show.
Hi everybody, Connor Wise here with an exclusive clip from the Wise Conservative Show. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. How haven't all of these protesters realized that they are the exact reason why Donald Trump was elected in the first place? How haven't they realized that them being crybabies about every single thing in life is exactly why the American people rose up and voted for Donald Trump? They are the whole reason that they have all this misery currently.
If you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
Get out of here, you idiot. Sorry about that, folks. Jason Veely here, host of the Jason Veely program. I'm a 22-year-old conservative who is fired up and ticked off at the direction the progressive left have taken this country. Join me every weeknight at 7 o'clock as we promote liberty, advance conservative principle, and work to restore the Constitution of the United States. I can get loud and I can get passionate. How can we afford not to when so much is on the line? Tune in to the Jason Veely program, live every weeknight at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on youthrevolt.org. I'll see you out on the battlefield.
Hi everybody, Connor Wise here with an exclusive clip from the Wise Conservative Show. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. And every time that these universities take up this new social change that they're trying to promote, every time they take that up, they are taking away from that education instead. Because now they're focusing on these social changes instead of learning like they should be.
Calling all young conservatives. Have you ever wanted to write for an online publication, What about host your own conservative radio program? Now you can, thanks to youthrevolt.org. Youth Revolt is a conservative media network for young people, the goal of which is to educate our fellow Americans and also to expose the left-wing indoctrination that goes on in classrooms across the country. Become part of a team that is dedicated to taking the country back, one radio program or opinion column at a time. If you're interested, go to youthrevolt.org and click on Join Us on the top of the page. Fill out our brief questionnaire, and one of our representatives will be in touch with you in no time at all. The time to reclaim our future is now. Be a part of something that's bigger than yourself, and join the movement today. Youth Revolt. Speak without fear. Ever wanted to learn the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in less than 10 minutes? Are you looking for the truth about the so-called gender wage gap? Well, my friends, I'll let you in on a little secret. Prager University is a source that I use all the time when preparing for my show, the Jason Veely Program. Dennis Prager and his team have put together a remarkable organization that seeks to explain and spread Americanism through the power of the internet. Their short yet extremely informative videos reach more than 100 million people per year, and they want to reach you as well. Go on YouTube and type in Prager University, or go to prageru.com for all of their latest content. That's Prager, the letter U.com. prageru.com.
Love Trump's hate! Love Trump's hate! Love Trump's hate!
Love trumping hate involves a lot more assault and arson than I expected. The Wise Conservative Show, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on Youth Revolt.
Welcome back to the Wise Conservative Show. I'm your host, Connor Wise. Now, as I said before the break, a little bit more on that Russia probe. It's definitely a huge thing. You know my opinion on it a lot. But this is actually something that I thought was very interesting that I didn't know was happening. Democrats are now using a parliamentary maneuver. They used it today to cut short a high-profile hearing where a key witness was set to testify on Russia's misdeeds and also raise fresh allegations against the company behind the infamous anti-Trump dossier. Bill Browder, who is the CEO and co-founder of Hermitage Capital, was set to tell the Senate Judiciary Committee that the co-founder of the firm Fusion GPS was hired to conduct a, quote, smear campaign against him. Further, he planned to testify the campaign was orchestrated by the Russian attorney who sought the highly scrutinized Trump Tower meeting with Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and then campaign chairman Paul Manafort back in June of last year. Browder released written testimony ahead of the hearing, but his public remarks were delayed when Democrats invoked the 2-hour rule to protest Republican efforts to repeal Obamacare. The seldom-used rule bars committees from meeting more than 2 hours after the full Senate begins a session. The attorney that met with that Trump Tower meeting, through Baker Hosteller, hired Glenn Simpson of the firm Fusion GPS to conduct a smear campaign against me and Sergei Magnitsky in advance of congressional hearings on the Global Magnitsky Act. I don't know, this is continued quotation, I don't know if the minority is intentionally trying to block testimony that may be critical of a firm behind the unverified Trump dossier, but I'll bet 2 bits that had Paul Manafort or Donald Trump Jr. appeared at today's hearing, it would not have been prematurely shut down. That is from Chuck Grassley. As you all know, I've already talked about him in this episode. He continued, the Democrat leadership is playing politics, plain and simple. Browder now is expected to testify tomorrow, but a statement makes clear that he will have plenty to say about Fusion GPS, the shadowy intel company, who was founded by a pair of former Wall Street Journal reporters, including Glenn Simpson. Quote, while they were conducting these operations in Washington, D.C., at no time did they indicate that they were acting on behalf of Russian government interests, nor did they file disclosures under the Foreign Agent Registration Act, Browder's prepared testimony said. So he gave his prepared testimony, his written statement to the committee, but he wasn't actually able to talk to them because Democrats blocked him. And of course, blocking different people is a very common routine of Democrats these days. Donald Trump still isn't able to have the majority of his nominees confirmed because Democrats continue to block them. They continue to play petty politics and block everything that Republicans are trying to do. And in this case, they're trying to block someone who has direct evidence against that anti-Trump dossier. That dossier that CNN published before knowing whether it was true or not. The dossier that BuzzFeed broke the story of, and CNN picked it up after that. This dossier has been proven to be false already, but they're still using it as evidence against our administration. It's definitely a sad sight to see the Democrats are defending such defamatory falseness, but they continue to defend it, they continue to protect it, as you can see with them stalling Browder there. But moving on from this Russia probe, and onto someone who I wish I didn't talk about on the show ever again, but continues to put her face back into the news cycle. Hillary Clinton is reportedly to focus a new book on Russia and Comey and blaming them. She really hasn't heard the criticism from Democrats to stop blaming Russia and James Comey for a 2016 loss, apparently. The 2016 Democratic presidential nominee reportedly plans to focus her forthcoming memoir on the role that Moscow's meddling and former FBI Director Comey's public statements about her email investigation played in her defeat to now President Trump. The Hill reported that Clinton has told friends that she wants, quote, the whole story out there for a book expected for release in the fall. Quote, she really believes that's why she lost, and she wants to explain why in no uncertain terms. And this is from an individual who was identified as a longtime ally of Clinton. The report suggests Clinton would return to hammering allegations Russia was involved in the hack of emails from Democratic officials, including her campaign chairman, as well as the election impacted Comey's late-stage decision to briefly reopen the email case. Now, this news comes just days after Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, he's always in the news, you guys know who he is, he himself suggests that it's time to move forward. Quote, when you lose to somebody who has a 40% popularity, you don't blame other things, Comey, Russia, you blame yourself. So what did we do wrong? People don't know what we stood for, just that we were against Trump and still believe that. Democrats, including Schumer this week, tried to rebrand the party under a new slogan, a better deal. They're, of course, looking ahead to 2018 elections. Former Vice President Biden has also criticized Clinton's candidacy in recent months, questioning whether Democrats paid enough attention to blue-collar economic issues. So it seems like the leadership and the ex-leadership of the Democratic Party, for the most part, is on track now. They've realized that people don't care about these different excuses. I'm surprised that Chuck Schumer said that. I didn't think that he would be one of them to admit that, but good for him. He finally realized that people don't care about these silly excuses that really have no basis. And, of course, Hillary Clinton, who always has to find a way to get back into the news cycle, she's now trying to make more money off of these excuses. She's made billions and billions off of these different books over the years, off of her different speeches, and now she wants more. Because apparently she's not rich enough anymore, So she needs to write another memoir, and this time blame everything on Russians, blame everything on Comey. She needs to realize that Americans, quite honestly, don't care. That they don't want these excuses. That they don't want her to continue to blame these different people. I know, like, 1.5 months ago, 2 months ago, I played you guys a clip, and it was Hillary Clinton blaming her loss on misogyny. Her excuses keep wavering. Her excuses keep coming up. And these are excuses that I hope I don't have to hear ever again. I am just waiting for the day that Hillary Clinton is not in the news cycle. Waiting for the day that I don't have to talk to you guys about another cringeworthy moment or another horrible lie that Hillary Clinton has said. Alright, that's all for today's episode of The Wise Conservative Show. I've been your host, Connor Wise. You can find me on youthrevolt.org. Go ahead and search Youth Revolt up on Facebook. Find me on Spreaker.com/The Wise Conservative Show. And of course on Instagram @the_wise_conservative. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. And as always, God bless.